Imagine for a second um, that you are just walking around every single day carrying the literal weight of the world on your shoulders.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we've all been there.
Right. Like you're stressed out about bills, you're exhausted by the endless churn of the news cycle, and you just feel this underlying, I don't know, this global anxiety that just won't quit.
It's just a constant hum in the background for most people.
Exactly. Now, imagine you're feeling all of that, but you are completely unaware that you have like a literal map to an endless, pristine diamond mine just folded up in your back pocket.
Wow. Okay, so you're complaining about the dark, but you're carrying the ultimate source of light.
Yes, it's this profound, if, slightly tragic irony.
Mm.
We spend so much of our lives looking outward for solutions to our suffering, right?
Yeah.
Desperately trying to manipulate our environment.
Yeah, trying to fix things on the outside.
Right, while remaining completely blind to the profound architecture that already exists within us. And what if that ultimate treasure isn't something physical? What if it's buried deep within your own mind?
That is the million-dollar question.
And here is the real paradigm shift we are exploring today. What if finding that internal treasure is the exact mechanical key required to unlock a 50,000-year era of pure global harmony?
It's a massive claim.
It really is. Today, we're doing a deep dive into an incredible translated spiritual lecture that maps out this exact journey. We are going to explore the search for the ultimate spirit, which is known as Simyang.
Right, Simyang.
We're also going to examine the concept of Heiwan, which is the path of resolving these deep-seated millennia-old grievances. And finally, we'll look at what it actually means to cross the threshold into the Cheongwa Sege.
The 50,000-year world of pure harmony.
Exactly. And to really understand the mechanics of how this all supposedly works, we're combining the spiritual text with a brief academic breakdown of yin-yang and the five elements by a researcher named Choi Won-Hyuk, just to ground the worldview.
Yeah, and just to set the stage for you listening, we are combining some deeply held religious and cosmic frameworks here. Our goal today is really just to map this territory together. We aren't here to endorse a specific theology or, tell you what to believe.
Right, we're just messengers today.
Exactly.
Right.
We want to impartially unpack the intricate logic of this philosophy because the way it connects personal psychology to the actual, physics of the universe is undeniably fascinating.
It really is. It's a delicate line to walk mapping the territory without telling the listener they have to move there.
So, okay, let's unpack this. The entire premise of finding this Simyang, this ultimate inner spirit, it requires a fundamental upgrade to how we perceive reality.
Yeah, it starts with vision.
Right? The philosophy breaks down human vision into, an evolutionary ladder.
It does. It outlines this progression of sight, starting with what they call the physical eye, or yugin.
Okay, the physical eye.
Right. This is just our basic biological vision.
Yeah.
It is strictly limited to the material plane.
Yeah.
So it sees the traffic light, the coffee cup, the spreadsheet.
The stuff we bump into.
Exactly. It is entirely bound by physical geometry and, light reflecting off surfaces.
Yeah.
And the speaker in the lecture actually grounds this in a really relatable, kind of humorous way. He points out his own physical frailty, noting that if he just takes off his reading glasses, he can't even perceive the material world clearly.
Let alone the metaphysical one.
Right. It's a very humbling reminder of our biological hardware limitations.
It really is. We are highly dependent on very fragile sensors. But the philosophy argues that as a person cultivates their intellect and expands their understanding, a second level of perception opens up.
Which is?
The wisdom eye, or Hayan. Now, this isn't biological sight. It's the ability to perceive the mechanics behind the material.
Not just seeing the coffee cup.
Right. You don't just see the cup. You see the global supply chain, the agricultural conditions, the human labor, the economic forces that brought it to your desk. You start seeing the invisible networks of cause and effect.
Which is a massive leap forward, just being able to understand systems like that.
It is, but the framework insists that even the wisdom eye is just a stepping stone.
Really? There's more.
Yeah, the ultimate stage of perception is the divine eye, Sinan.
The divine eye. Wow.
Yeah. When this opens, the boundary between the visible and invisible completely dissolves. You gain direct cognitive access to the spiritual realm.
Okay, so you're seeing the underlying code of the matrix, basically.
Essentially, yes. And the entire reason you want to cultivate this level of vision is so you can finally locate your Simyang, that ultimate inner spirit we mentioned at the start.
So if I'm tracking the logic here, Finding the spirit allows you to communicate seamlessly with the spiritual realm and actually grasp the underlying order of all things in the universe.
Right, achieving that spiritual enlightenment or
It's
detente.
like having, I don't know, an upgrade from a basic disposable camera to a top-of-the-line multidimensional scanner
Hmm.
that can pick up signals from the very fabric of reality.
That's a great way to put it.
But, okay, here's where I get hung up. If we all have this universal frequency built into our hardware, like, if this treasure is inside all of us, why is everyone walking around with only their basic physical eyesight?
Right, why are we stuck on level 1?
Yeah. Why is it so incredibly hard to find?
Well, the obstacle is rooted in a behavioral concept called mujagi, which basically means not deceiving oneself.
Not deceiving oneself. Okay.
The philosophy posits that the absolute fastest way to bury your Simneyang under impenetrable layers of static is through moral compromise.
You mean like everyday deceit?
Precisely. Lies, scams, betraying your conscience. Every single time a person ignores their internal moral compass for a short-term material gain, whether that's cutting corners at work, lying to a friend, or, stepping on someone else to get ahead, they are literally throwing another shovel full of dirt over their inner spirit.
Oh, wow. So the material greed physically clouds the perceptual hardware.
Exactly. And it creates this profound sense of frustration because the lecture describes people who instinctively know they are missing something vital.
They can feel the absence of it.
Right. So they try to force the issue. They retreat into cold caves to meditate. They become ascetic monks. They read ancient texts until their eyes bleed.
But they still can't unbury it.
No, because they fail to address the core issue. And because they fail, they burn out. They give up. They compromise with the mundane, materialistic world, and they essentially waste their lives away.
It's tragic. And if we scale this up, I think this is where the academic framework of yin-yang and the five elements becomes crucial to understanding this worldview.
Oh, absolutely.
Because this isn't just a story about individual spiritual burnout, right?
Mhm.
Think about the scale of it. We are talking about millions of people over thousands of years living with this constant friction between what they are and the enlightened state they are meant to inhabit.
Right, because in the yin-yang framework, human emotion isn't just a private, fleeting thought in your head. It carries actual, literal, energetic weight.
It has mass in the system.
Exactly. In the study of the five elements, the universe is a closed, interconnected system of energy. Heaven, earth, and humanity are in this constant exchange.
They feed into each other.
Yes. So when humans live in a state of continuous spiritual failure and worldly suffering, it breeds immense resentment, deep sorrow, and malice. This is known as Han and One.
Not in one.
Yeah. And this accumulated human resentment acts as a literal physical force. The text states it has literally filled heaven and earth. It is a dense, toxic energy that clogs the spiritual atmosphere.
It's like smog. Think about, the collective exhaustion we all feel looking at the news today. That low-grade, persistent hum of anger and anxiety everyone seems to be carrying around.
We all feel it.
Yeah. This philosophy is arguing that this isn't just a cultural mood, it's a metaphysical smog. It's choking the mechanics of the universe.
And because the system is choked, people lash out. The text paints a vivid picture of this hierarchy of despair.
How so?
Well, when things go wrong, people desperately seek help from their mother, right? Then they pray to their ancestors, and when the pain still doesn't subside, they just yell at the sky in pure, unadulterated resentment.
And literally blame the heavens.
They blame the universe for the dirt they've piled over their own conscience.
That is the ultimate projection. And it's something to think about, really. Like, how often do we blame external forces or the universe when our own internal frustrations boil over?
All the time.
But because everything is interconnected, this human projection actually breaks the cosmic machinery. The flow of energy between heaven and earth stalls out because the human realm is entirely saturated with this toxic resentment. Which, okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh yeah, this is the big turn.
Right. There is a cosmic plot twist in the source material. The system is breaking down, so the spiritual realm has to intervene.
Yeah, it gets overwhelmed.
Exactly. The supreme ruler, Sengjinam, looks at this overwhelming gridlock of human anger and initiates a great cosmic fortune for Earth. It's called the Mujika Dawn.
The great fortune of the limitless.
Yes. So what does that actually mean?
Well, to explain how this intervention works, the philosophy uses a metaphor based on the seasons, specifically the transition into autumn.
Which feels very appropriate given the yin-yang context, since the five elements are deeply tied to the cycles of nature.
Exactly. Think about how a tree produces fruit. During the spring and summer, there is intense, harsh, competitive growth.
Right, the branches are fighting for sunlight, the roots fight for water.
It's a struggle. But when autumn arrives, the dynamic changes entirely. A fruit doesn't ripen in autumn because it suddenly works incredibly hard or, like, performs a magic trick.
It just hangs there.
Exactly. It ripens effortlessly, simply by staying attached to the branch and passively absorbing the changing, maturing energy of heaven and earth.
Okay, but wait. Autumn implies that winter is coming.
Right.
In nature, a harvest means the fruit gets picked, eaten, or drops to the ground and dies.
That's the logical conclusion, yeah.
So does this cosmic autumn imply some sort of apocalyptic end to humanity? Because harvest usually means the end of the line for the apple.
It's a very fair question, but within this specific cosmological framework, the harvest isn't about physical destruction or an apocalyptic end. It's about spiritual maturation.
Oh, okay.
For millennia, humanity has been in its summer phase, right? Trying to force spiritual growth through intense, agonizing, isolated efforts, like the ascetic in the cave. We've been fighting for sunlight.
Sweating it out.
Yes, but the Mujek Dayun, this great fortune, is the arrival of autumn energy. The universe is flooding the system with an ultimate mature energy. Humanity is being offered an evolutionary leap, a chance for the soul to advance to its absolute peak.
Wow.
And it happens naturally simply because the energetic season of the universe has shifted to favor resolution over struggle.
So we don't have to suffer in a freezing cave to reach enlightenment anymore. The cosmic weather is finally working in our favor.
Precisely.
But I mean, I know there has to be a catch. Even if the autumn energy is doing all this heavy lifting and flooding the system, the source says we can't just sit on the couch, scroll through social media, and wait to become enlightened beings.
No, definitely not.
If we are the fruit, we still have to make sure we don't fall off the branch before the harvest. So how do we prepare ourselves to actually receive this energy?
You have to prepare the vessel. The philosophy lays out a very specific practical action plan for this, and the first step is Simji, which is dealing with our internal turbulence. Specifically, calming the mind and stripping away materialistic greed.
The lecture uses the analogy of water here, which I thought was classic but incredibly precise.
Yeah, the water analogy is perfect.
If a pool of water is being whipped up by the wind, it kicks up all this mud from the bottom. The water becomes completely opaque. You can't see a thing.
Total turbulence.
Right. But if the wind dies down, the water becomes as still as a pristine mirror. The mud settles to the bottom, and suddenly, the treasure that was hidden down there, the Simyang, becomes perfectly visible.
And the wind, in this case, is our selfish desire. The constant craving for more money, more status, more validation, it keeps the mind perpetually muddy.
Okay, but, and I have a highly practical question here. Letting go of selfish desire is one of those things that sounds incredibly profound on a retreat, but it is nearly impossible for mortals when you have a mortgage, a demanding boss, and, a biologically wired ego.
It's the human condition.
Right. So how does this text say we actually calm the water without just retreating from society?
This is where the psychological insight of the philosophy really shines. It doesn't tell you to sit in an empty room and try to force your mind to be blank.
Which that never works.
No, it's a losing battle. The void just fills right back up with anxiety. Instead, it advocates for a strategy of active displacement. The best defense is a good offense.
Oh, interesting.
You have to practice what it calls public desire.
Meaning you shift the focus entirely outward.
Yes. You must intentionally dedicate your energy to doing good deeds, acting with broad-mindedness, and actively working to help others succeed.
Okay, I see.
It's a matter of cognitive bandwidth. If your mind is intensely actively occupied with elevating someone else, the neural pathways and emotional bandwidth dedicated to your own selfish greed simply cannot fire at the same time.
Because you're too busy helping.
Exactly. The active practice of goodness naturally pushes the selfish desires out of the frame.
You don't fight the darkness in the room. You just turn on a massive spotlight. I really appreciate the mechanics of that. It's actually actionable.
It's very practical.
And that ties directly into the second part of the preparation, Iri, or establishing duty and repaying grace. Because, you didn't get to this moment in your life entirely on your own.
Not at all. The framework places a massive emphasis on loyalty, filial piety, and faithfulness. It demands that we recognize the profound interconnectedness of our existence.
Right.
You are a node in a massive network of grace, from your parents, your teachers, your community, and the earth itself.
And the lecture gives some piercing examples of what it looks like when we ignore that interconnectedness. It says, betraying grace is like someone who is patiently taught everything by a teacher and then As soon as they succeed, they disrespectfully smoke a cigarette right in that teacher's face.
It's a vivid image of disrespect.
Yeah, or it's like someone who relies entirely on their company to earn a living and feed their family, but out of petty spite, they actively destroy their own workplace. It is self-destructive arrogance. Keeping faith, fulfilling your duty to those who sustain you, that is what actually keeps the water of your mind settled.
And when you combine these two practices, aggressively replacing greed with public desire and anchoring yourself in your duties, the mud finally settles. The Simnyong becomes visible.
Which brings us to the culmination of this entire massive journey. We've upgraded our vision, we've stopped throwing dirt on our conscience, we've understood how our resentment clogs the universe, and we've calmed the water to find the spirit.
We've done the work.
So what does this all mean? What happens when you finally find this ultimate treasure? Does finding it just make you a really calm, highly efficient person?
It does something much more radical. It triggers a total paradigm shift regarding your purpose. The profound surprise of this philosophy is that once you finally unlock your true spirit, you realize that this immense clarity and spiritual power was never actually meant for you.
Wait, really? You do all this work, and the treasure isn't for your own benefit?
No, in the narrow materialistic sense, you don't get enlightened just so you can gain personal fame, wealth, or, manifest a bigger house.
Quiet.
You realize that humanity was created for Chonhasa, the affairs of the universe. You are meant to entrust yourself to the will of the universe's creator and work actively for the benefit of all living things. Your perspective violently expands from the personal ego to the cosmic whole.
Oh, wow. And this is how we finally achieve Haewon, the resolving of those deep-seated grievances we talked about earlier.
Exactly.
Because usually when we think about resolving a grudge, we think about like throwing money at a problem or getting revenge on someone who wronged us or finally getting that promotion we were denied. It's very transactional.
Right. That is a very low-level, earthbound view of resolution. True Haewon isn't about evening the score. True Haewon is achieving this state of spiritual enlightenment and unity with the universe.
You realize your cosmic purpose.
Yes. You resolve your personal, petty grievances by realizing how small they are compared to the universal project you are now a part of. You stop fighting the universe, and you start maintaining it.
And when this happens on a mass scale, when humanity collectively clears the mud, finds their spirit, and resolves this millennia-old backlog of resentment, that is what ushers in the Gyeongwasege.
Yes, the 50,000-year era of pure, limitless harmony and paradise. It is the result of the cosmic autumn. The harvest of humanity finally yields a world that operates without the toxic exhaust of anger and self-deception.
The energetic exchange between heaven and earth flows perfectly.
Exactly.
It is a staggering, sweeping vision of what human beings are actually capable of. But it requires us to fundamentally change how we operate right now, today.
It demands a shift in everyday behavior.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the final instruction from the source material is really about attitude. Knowing all of this, how are we supposed to walk out the door tomorrow morning?
Right. What's the takeaway?
The text urges its followers to live with Seongyungs in utmost sincerity, reverence, and faith. It suggests that instead of feeling oppressed by spiritual rules or crushed by the difficulties of daily life like stressful jobs or global anxieties like war, you should actually rejoice.
It completely reframes human struggle. You aren't a victim of a chaotic world. You are living in the exact moment where the cosmic season has shifted.
The autumn energy is here.
Yes, the ultimate internal treasure can finally be unearthed. It turns existential anxiety into profound anticipation.
And I think that leaves us with a truly vital question to ponder. This framework argues that your ultimate job isn't your 9 to 5. Your ultimate job is participating in the affairs of the entire universe.
That's a big promotion.
It really is. So think about your own life. If you started viewing your daily frustrations, the terrible commute, the difficult conversation with a family member, the mundane duties at work, not as annoying distractions from your happiness or personal burdens, but as your own vital, necessary contributions to a 50,000-year cosmic project of harmony.
How would that change the way you face tomorrow morning?
Exactly. It changes the friction of daily life from a nuisance into the very grindstone that sharpens your spirit. Are you just enduring another Tuesday, or are you actively tuning the dial away from the static, clearing the water, and unburying the map to the universe's greatest treasure?
It's a beautiful thought to end on.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your minds clear, remember your connection to the whole, and keep your inner treasures polished. We'll catch you next time.